The following is a live sports event featuring the Abernathy Antelopes or Lady Lopes and is under the direction of AA Sports Properties in partnership with Abernathy ISD. This broadcast cannot be reproduced or retransmitted without the written consent of AA Sports Properties. Tonight's broadcast is made possible by the support of our generous sponsors: MC Master Roofing and Construction, South Plains Auto Ranch, First State Bank, Nutrient Ag Solutions, Abernathy First Baptist Church, Storm Guard, Clark Riley Insurance, Able Funeral Home and Flower Shop, Plains Land Bank, JC Refrigeration, Spradlin Spray Service, Vista Bank, Lambert Insurance, The Junkin Farmers Market, Ty Horsford Realtor, and DB Media. Buckle up and enjoy all of the exciting action with the Abernathy Antelopes and Lady Lopes.
To Rolando. This time he takes it himself, untouched, into the end zone. Rolando Martinez from 1 yard out, and the Abernathy Antelope strike first. Comes McKaylin Marshall off the dribble. Mid-range jumper. Marshall gives Abernathy the lead. Now he hands it to Rolando. Burst of speed up the middle. Dagger! Touchdown! Superman! Now, second, rolling away in the corner. Flores. It's good! Flores the steal! And the three-pointer! As time runs out. Flag comes in. The punt is blocked. And it's going to be an Antelope touchdown! Barring the penalty, as it's Cash Garcia who blocked it, scooped it, and scored it. Let's check.
And good evening, Abernathy, Texas, and good evening, fans of the Abernathy Antelopes and Lady Lopes. A special thank you to our junior high cheerleaders as they gave us a nice, warm ushering in on this Wednesday evening. Ty Horsford alongside Chance Rocha. And Chance, it's Wednesday night. You know what that means. We are outside the box for another episode of Outside the Box, and looking forward to it. We've got a great show planned for you this evening, and we might as well just jump right in like we typically do and take a look back. And it's actually going to be a fun football game to talk about this last Friday night, as for the first time in 2024, the Abernathy Antelopes get in the win column, and it was in whatever you want to call it, dramatic or stylish or exciting fashion, as they get a 26-22 win over the Littlefield Wildcats. And we've just got Littlefield's number, Chance.
We do. Like you said, they hadn't beat us since, 2009, something like that.
Yep.
And so just kind of when they come to town or when we go there, it doesn't matter what it is. We just kind of have their number. And it was nice to get back on the winning side of the ball and get a W in that column, and just to kind of get the ball rolling. We saw a lot of good things happening for the Lopes. Early on, came out super hot.
Yeah. Looked like we were going to run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, and it did. And then come out, scored 19 points. Our defense is just all over them, not let them have any opportunity to score or even really move the ball very much. And then we kind of slowed down. Ty, it just kind of it wasn't really play calling.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like some things didn't go our way, some drop passes, one more tackle with it, Rolando could have broke, something like that.
Yep.
But it just kind of, we went into this little lull. But we weren't worried. You go into halftime up 19-0. It's hard to be worried. And so, but the second half was a completely different game.
Yeah, it was really kind of a tale of two games. Like you said, I mean, you jump out to the 19-0 lead. You have some good fortune in that first quarter, the likes of Rolando going to the end zone, fumbles the ball, but Carson Curry able to fall on it in the end zone and get a touchdown. Just kind of a lot of things going your way early in that ball game, and it looked like Abernathy was going to steamroll Littlefield. And after the kind of the defenses, as you said, took over in the second quarter, really was impressed with some of the adjustments Littlefield made defensively going into the second half, because I felt like you kind of came out with the same offensive game plan
Littlefield was able to respond to that, get some stops on defense, really shut you down, and kind of turn the tide a little bit and get back in the ball game in that third and early fourth quarter. But like you said, Chance, I think what the most impressive thing was about Friday night's game, it wasn't the fast start, it wasn't the 19-0 lead, but after you got punched in the mouth and after Littlefield scored 22 straight points to take the lead, you had 7.5 minutes to make something happen. And you go on a very impressive 7-minute scoring drive when you had pretty much done nothing offensively in the second half.
Yeah, we hadn't done anything, number one, and really all the momentum was shifted towards them. They kind of made, like you said, they made adjustments on defense, but they also made adjustments on offense. And they said, okay, we're just going to put Chip back here and let him choose. Either he wants to hand it off or he wants to run it. And that's kind of what they did. Yeah. And that was probably kind of part of their fault towards the end was you could tell the kid got tired and kind of started to get worn down. And then, credit to our defense, they said, you know what, if that's what they're going to do, we're going to key on and put a lot of pressure on them. And they were able to make some stops right there at the end. And then, them scoring, it was one of those things to where you look up, like you said, 7.5 minutes left in the game, and you think, all right, it's you got to at least put a drive together. And I don't know how many times during the broadcast I said, this is kind of it. This is the play. This is the down. We have to do it. And that happened 3 or 4 times to where it was like, if we don't get it here, we're going to have to come up with something. But not only credit to the play calling, credit to the execution.
Absolutely.
Of those boys. Some of the big time catches that we had, something good happens and we have the holding penalty, we get all the way back. And so we're with, 3rd and 25.
Yeah.
And, you get half those chunk yardage to on a pass to Russum, which was a great throw by Wiley over the middle, under pressure. Russum gets it. We get up in a hurry, and then you convert to Trejo on the next play on 4th down. Not just one 4th down that happened to. It happened again.
The game winner was a 4th down and 4, I believe.
Yeah, and I think there was that time, with a few minutes left in the game, or just under a minute, to where we looked at each other and was like, "Are we going to kick it? Are we going to go to try to tie? Are we going to go? What are we going to do here?" And so, but. Wiley and them, they trusted their offense. They wanted those boys to go out there and execute, and they really did. It was an exciting game. And so if you haven't watched it, go check it out on YouTube. It's still streaming. You can check it out.
It's still there, absolutely.
And if you don't watch the whole thing, at least watch the last 10 minutes because that's where the most excitement comes from.
We had lots of fun. We had lots of fun. We had potential bodily functions happening and all sorts of stuff. Oh, man. But tell you what, Chance, sophomore quarterback Jagger Wiley, he was impressive. He by far had his best game of the year. I felt like you saw him grow up a little bit, grow into that role a little bit. I think it's easy to forget it's just his 3rd varsity start, and the previous 2 starts came against the number 1 and the number 8 teams in the country. But he was 22 of 35, 186 yards, and a touchdown, the game-winning touchdown. A little deceiving because some of those 13 incompletions should have been catches. They were throws that were in the hands of receivers that they just couldn't hang on.
Yep. And some of them, they were tough throws, and they would have been tough catches, but like you said, maybe tipped the hand a little bit, maybe caught the receiver real quick across the middle, whatever it may be. So the thing that I liked about it, like you said, him growing up right before us in the game, but it was the opportunities that he was getting. There was 3 or 4 times where he got the opportunity to throw a deep ball, and he put great touch on it, and we just didn't come down with the catch. And that's going to happen in football. And so, but the fact that the offense kept going back to him and saying, hey, we trust you. Keep throwing the ball. Keep doing what you're doing. But also kind of what we talked about, it was nice to be able to say, hey, now you don't look at and say, okay, either Rolando's going to get 20 to 25, 26 carries. Yeah. That can wear a kid down really, really quickly. And so you want to be able to say, hey, what can we do to make sure we keep this team as a whole very balanced? And I think we learned a lot about our offense at the game on Friday.
Well, and you mentioned Rolando. Obviously, we talked about it in the pregame. We talked about it on last week's Outside the Box as we previewed this matchup with Littlefield. Rolando is your playmaker. Yeah. You want to get him as many touches as you can. And I think what the coaching staff has done a good job of is getting creative and getting him the ball and getting him touches, whether it's swing passes, little option reverse type things, or just to straight up give him the ball and let him see what he can do. But, I mean, Rolando's still 18 carries, 163 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in the ball game. But
to that point, he also had 64 receiving yards in the ball game. And so he just made some big plays offensively and defensively.
And he did. And, we talked about it at the broadcast. He would have had a hat trick. Yep. He was basically reaching over to try to get the ball in the end zone for that third touchdown, and they knocked it out. And that's when Curry jumped on in the end zone and was able to get that fumble recovery for a touchdown. But, just as easily, he could have had 3 touchdowns. And then not only on offense, but, he's playing linebacker and going out there and rushing the quarterback and making big plays on defense too. So.
Well, and you mentioned Carson Curry getting the touchdown, but Chance, it's going to go unnoticed by a lot of people. But due to some of the injuries you had in the Sunray game, Curry thrown to the line. He's playing both sides of the ball, playing position he's probably not played, and I'm sure he's played it in practice at times and maybe younger in sub-varsity ball. But he really answered the bell. I know he was gassed when the ball game was over because he virtually played almost every play of that ball game, and he was a huge part of your success.
Yeah, he was a huge part of success. He had to step up due to some injuries that we had. Him and Kelton Carver kind of had to shift around, and they both had really great games up front for us for sure. And, Carson had 6 tackles on defense, and they had that fumble recovery. And so that was a big part of it. And when you look at it from that aspect, that's kind of what you have to do to be a great team. Mm-hmm. Next man up mentality, because you're going to have injuries, you're going to have things happen throughout the season and even throughout the course of a game. And so, just those guys stepping up was awesome. Also, another guy, Jake Harkey, made some great plays throughout the course of the game on defense as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a team effort. You had some great individual performances, but you had lots of guys getting in there and stepping into key roles and making big plays.
For sure.
No doubt. It was also a fun night on the sidelines as well. Chance says, I know my kiddos were excited, but one thing that makes Abernathy such a great place to live is they get the little Lopes and the little Lady Lopes involved with those varsity players. And that's huge for those young kids. It gives them somebody to look up to. It gives them somebody to cheer for and root for. And so you had little cheerleaders on the sidelines cheering with the cheerleaders. You had all sorts of kiddos running on the field with the football team through the tunnel. It was just a fun night all the way around, especially when you just throw the 26-22 win. It's kind of icing on the cake, but it was just a great night at Antelope Stadium.
It definitely was. And I think the cool thing, at the beginning of the game when all, the players and all the kids run out of the tunnel, it was awesome to see they all run out of the field and all of our players kneel down.
Yeah.
To say the prayer, and all the little kids were like, we're going to kneel with them. And they stopped, and, some of the parents and some of the staff and the admin were like, actually, we can't stay on the field.
Come on, guys.
But it was cool to see that. And then also having those cheerleaders get to cheer during the third quarter. Those things may seem small, but to those kids, that was a huge deal. And that's how you build a culture.
Oh, absolutely.
It starts when they're in elementary to get them to want to go to those Friday night games and to get them bought in to say, this is a community. This is something that we want to do. This is a tradition that we want to have and really build that culture here in Abernathy.
Well, case in point, just earlier tonight, so our Antelope buddy is Jagger Wiley, and they were getting ready to see him and putting together a little gift thing to give him or whatever. And my daughter, Parker, she had the idea. So Jagger probably hadn't seen this yet, so if he's watching, I'm spoiling my daughter's picture that she drew him. But she literally drew a picture of Jagger throwing it to Elijah Trejo in the end zone for the game-winning touchdown.
There you go.
Because she saw that, and she was excited about it. Yep. And so, it's just little stuff like that goes a long way for these young kids, and it's part of what makes this town special and makes it a great place to live.
For sure. Culture says a lot, and tradition says a lot, and those are 2 big things that we've had and we want to continue to have here at Abernathy.
And Chance, we'll talk more about our district in a few weeks as we kind of preview the district, but kind of give us a quick rundown of what the rest of the district looked like on Friday night.
So Friday night, a couple other teams in our district that were in play. New Deal lost a tough one.
That was kind of a surprise a little bit.
Yeah, it's a Slayton team that I think they're starting 3-0 for the first time since 2010, I believe.
Yep.
And so that's a Slayton team that's kind of on the rise. Obviously, they're bigger division than New Deal and us as well, but that's a Slayton team that usually they're not winning a lot of they're not going 3-0 to start the season. Yeah. It's been a long time.
They may be lucky to win 3 games in a season.
For sure. Not saying anything bad about Slayton, but that's just kind of how it's been historically. And so New Deal loses a tough one, and it's their homecoming.
Yep.
They lose a tough one on
Slayton
homecoming.
Plays Post this week.
They do
3-0 Slayton and 3-0 Post. I believe Post won this last week too.
They did. Post. They beat Seagraves 51-9. Post not only has been winning, but they've been putting up some numbers. haven't been playing as tough opponents, as Abernathy has, but, a win's a win.
Yep.
And we talked about it before. Winning can be contagious. And so once you get on that train and you feel that's excitement for those players. So they won. Floyd Ada won it this past week as well. They played Smyre 34-14, and then Olton lost a tough one. They played Texaco, New Mexico, and they lost by 5, 18-13. And then New Home, they dropped their second game in a row. They lost 22-13 to Muleshoe, and so they lost last week as well against Ropes.
Yeah,
tough game, but I think it's going to be exciting. It's kind of cool. Earlier in the season, Newdale played Farwell and they beat Farwell, so that kind of gives us an idea of where they stand, kind of that head-to-head matchup that you see. And so seeing some of those games and seeing how they play out and kind of gives us an idea of what we're going to face coming up in district.
Yeah. Well, Chance, let's take a quick break, our first break on the program. We'll thank a couple of our sponsors, and then we will come back, and we are going to talk school safety here at Abernathy ISD. And so had a really good conversation this week, so stick around, and we'll have that for you coming up after the break. People of Abernathy and the surrounding area have trusted Able Funeral Home and Flower Shop to meet all of their needs since 1991. Todd, Jackson, Sherry, and the team at the funeral home assist families in funeral and planning services, cremation services, and so much more. They treat families with love and compassion as they navigate through difficult times in their lives. Carly and her crew at the Flower Shop can also help with all of your flower, gift, and registry needs as well. You can find us near the corner of 16th and Avenue D in Abernathy, and we are wishing the Lady Lopes and Antelopes lots of success this season. At Abernathy's First Baptist Church, our mission is to love God, love people, and tell the world. Our pastor is Damon Pierce, and we want you to know that you're always welcome at Abernathy's First Baptist Church. We meet for Sunday school on Sunday mornings at 9:30, followed by our worship service at 10:45. We offer kids and youth activities every Wednesday night beginning at 6 p.m. Come as you are and join us this Sunday. We'd love to see you. We are praying the Antelopes and Lady Lopes have a successful and safe school year. And welcome back to Outside the Box as we head into our second segment of the show. Super thankful for all of our sponsors that help make these shows and help make our broadcasts happen. And Chance, we'll kind of enter into a time where we take a look around Abernathy ISD, a look around the community, some different things going on. And tell you what, these cross country kids don't get enough credit. they put in the work all week long after school and early morning workouts, and they're up at 6 a.m. on Saturday mornings to go running a cross country meet. And this last weekend, another big meet for the cross country team. Talked to the cross country coach Carrie Carlisle this last week, or actually earlier today, and she said it was kind of a little bit of adversity for the team. They had three runners, competitors that they normally have that were out for different reasons this past weekend. They had to move a couple of girls up from JV even to make a varsity team. They still finished 19th out of 39, which is respectable. Brianna Shorter was the team's top finisher. And one thing I love that Coach Carlisle does to encourage the kiddos, she names runners of the week for the cross-country program. And on the girls' side this week, it was Amaya Delgado. Said that her place and her time has gotten better every week. And she's just super excited about that. You also have girls like Alexis Brashears and Ireland Mullins. They also competed at the varsity level for the Lady Lopes. And so they had a good week. And really what Coach Carlisle said that the girls team is really focusing on is getting healthy before the district meet, which is the one that matters.
For sure.
Coming up here in just a few weeks. And we're going to be talking to some of those girls and highlighting our cross-country team here in a couple weeks on the program. On the boys' side, a lot fewer boys run cross-country. That's normal because obviously those that play football don't run cross-country, but some of the basketball players do. So they don't really ever have enough to actually place as a team. But we've talked about him every week. Noah Rigler, he's typically the top finisher on the boys' side. He finished 79th. And Chance, he ran 17:58, a 3-mile race in 17:58, and finished 79th.
I look at that and I might could run a mile in 17:58. So I don't know what these kids are doing these days, but that's an impressive time. I mean, that's a sub 6 mile on average, and so that's a good job.
Yeah, I think that's
Noah.
a great job. And that just shows you the level of competition. And we always talk about it. This isn't just 2A kids. This is 1A all the way up usually to 4A and sometimes 5A.
Yep, absolutely. On the boys' side, the athlete or runner of the week was Jalen Reyes. You also had Henry Webb and Ryan Gonzalez, both running on the boys' side of things, and they had good runs as well. They're going to Littlefield this coming Saturday as they continue to prepare for their district meet here again in a couple weeks. I think that district meet will be at May Simmons. I think that's typically the case. And so cross country trudges on, but those kiddos doing a good job and love to recognize them. Volleyball is deep in action too, Chance.
Yeah, volleyball it played this weekend. Even some of the junior high kids did run cross country as well, and some of those girls went from cross country straight to volleyball.
Yep.
They had to have a bus that left early just to bring them back, and they competed in a little round robin tournament here in Abernathy, and both of them fared very well. And then they played again on Monday in both 7th and 8th grade. Swept post this past Monday night, so congratulations to them. And varsity, they're coming up this Saturday. They have their home opener against Plains, starting district play.
Yeah, and if you're not doing anything, that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that match is here. If you've got some time on Saturday, go support those varsity girls. I know they're working hard. They're working their tails off trying to get ready for district, and so I know Plains is going to be one of those big district matches. Plains has a competitive volleyball team. We know that because of the conversation we had with Coach Thompson earlier in the season. And so volleyball in lots of action in the coming days and weeks. And sub-varsity football also rolls on, Chance, as both teams, junior high team, 7th and 8th graders, open their season against Littlefield this last Thursday night. They both were winners. Unfortunately, the JV team, they fell short in a competitive battle. I think they lost by a touchdown to a very good Littlefield team, probably a few guys with some mustaches across the way. That tends to be the case for those sub-varsity Littlefield teams. But when you talk about 7th grade, lots of people in town excited about this 7th grade group. They've been playing together for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of kids that just play, and have lots of experience at the youth level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, translating pretty well to the junior high level.
They're very similar to the 8th grade group. It was played before. They don't just compete in football, but they're competing in a lot of things, whether it's basketball, baseball, and some of them did summer track and things like that. But they're just used to that competitive nature, and so a lot of them were just itching to actually play and wear that A and actually matter and be playing for the school. So they played very well, very dominant win for the 7th grade group. They won 28-6 against Littlefield. Maddox Wadrup had two rushing touchdowns. He also threw for a touchdown, and he also had an interception on defense. And then James Hurt had an awesome 30-yard receiving touchdown, and Drake Warner was toting the ball the majority of the time, and he rushed for a touchdown as well. And Billy Mack Houston on defense had a big strip sack fumble for them. So shout out to some of them. Another one, he didn't have too many catches in the game, but Archer Magianis also had an amazing catch. His mom and dad shared that with me, and I was at the game, but they shared the video with me, and I said, your son's probably going to be watching that the rest of the week. So those things are cool when you see some of those things and you get highlighted. Yeah. The 8th grade boys, Littlefield, we talked about it last year. That was their toughest district game last year. Mm-hmm. So they knew Littlefield was coming in to try to beat them. And those 8th grade boys take their undefeated, 7th grade year. They wanted to carry that on into 8th grade and continue to be undefeated this year. And so they won a tough battle, 12-0. They had a shutout win over Littlefield. It was a tough win. Aiden Villarreal still had over 100 yards rushing, and he had a touchdown as well. But the defense also forced a couple of turnovers. One of them, Ralphie Barrows, had an interception in the end zone, actually, to kind of seal the deal at the end of the game for Abernathy. So congrats to them. And as you said before, JV lost a tough game, lost by a touchdown. So
pitching a shutout at any level is impressive. So
for sure.
That's awesome. All teams, just like the varsity, are taking on Farwell this weekend, this Thursday for the sub-varsity. Obviously, the varsity will be on Friday night in Farwell. Well, Chance, one thing that I don't think probably gets talked about enough, but maybe the most important thing we talk about
ever
Yeah.
on this show, to be honest with you, is what does our school system do to keep our kiddos, to keep our teachers, to keep our faculty safe? It's obviously for not ideal reasons a hot topic right now.
Yeah, it is. It really
with
is.
some things going on in our country, and so I think what Abernathy has done has they've stayed ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And you know they don't have the mentality of, oh, it can happen here or this or that or the other. They're being proactive and they're putting things in place as much as possible to have a safe campus. And I think a big part of that is our IT and technology team at Abernathy ISD. Victoria Yates, she leads that team, but that's also along with Clayton Benson and Alan Macias. They call him Monkey. You remember from our football broadcasts the last couple of years, but. We sat down with that crew this week, and just they shared a lot of insight on things the school district does to keep our kids safe. And so we thought that would be worth sharing with our viewers.
For sure.
So let's swing it to the interview that we had this week with our Abernathy ISD technology team. Okay, well, today on Outside the Box, we're talking a little bit of school safety and how we keep our students safe here at Abernathy ISD. And a big department that is responsible for that is our IT department here at Abernathy ISD. And so we're sitting down with members of the IT team here at AISD. And Victoria, just starting with you, would you just introduce your team here and who we have here today and what their roles are?
Sure. I'm Victoria Yates, and I am the tech director. And then we have Monkey, Alan Macias, and Clayton Benson, and they are both, I don't like to call them IT assistants. I always say we're just all one department, but the technical term is IT assistant, but I always say they're the better half of the department.
Awesome. Well, I know we talked a little bit off camera, and you have lots of roles. Your department has lots of roles here at AISD. But school safety is something that you're excited about, you're passionate about. Could you just tell us a little bit why that is and why it's so important to you guys?
Yes, I think that the driving force behind that is just our students, our staff, and our community. Abernathy, you hear of other people who come here, and they all say the same thing, that we just have a unique feel here at Abernathy. And we want to keep everyone here safe. Like, we care about anybody and everybody who walks into these doors. And I just feel like making sure that they're granted priority number one of, we're entrusting the school to keep kids safe is just what we hold very, very passionate about. And so I think it's just that we have a great community.
Yeah.
That's the heart of it.
That's awesome. And when we're talking specifics of school safety, can you guys explain a little bit to us what currently is in place as far as some of the technology and different things that are in place to keep our campuses safe?
Sure. We're protecting kids in so many different avenues. One of our more recent ones is our panic buttons that we implemented over the summer, which allow all of our staff, no matter where they are, they're able to initiate a lockdown or, even get help from admin from anywhere. They're not having to reach for their phone. They're not having to navigate anything, just right attached to their neck. They're able to get the help they need. But, running up the line, we've gotten new camera systems to make sure that we're able to monitor the property. Even on the back end, we've increased our cybersecurity, which has helped keeping kids safe even when they're online. So just top to bottom, we're really trying to implement a lot of different technology, and with the way that technology is improving, that's becoming easier, but also more complex as everything's sort of going online.
Yeah, awesome. That's really cool. Now, I know recently at one of our most recent board meetings, your department brought a proposal to the school board to upgrade some of the different features and security things that we have here on our different campuses. And so that passed. We're excited about that. Could you tell us just a little bit about what that entails and maybe timelines for some of those upgrades being implemented here on the campuses?
Sure. What we passed is called access control, and or that was a big portion of it. And so our access control is exactly what it sounds like. We are controlling who comes in and out of our facilities. And so right now we have a system and it works, but they're no longer making this system anymore. So, expanding it, being able to make changes to it is very hard. So what we knew we had this problem, we knew we needed to address it, and we addressed it with the best technology possible. It's through a system called Verkada, and it's got a seamless integration with our cameras. This is done with a grant called the SAFE grant. So we'll be able to pay some of it with that. And then the rest of it is going to come from some of our bond money. So through that Proposition A that was voted on in last November, our community said, hey, let's keep our kids safe. And so we're doing it with access control, and we're appreciative of that. That is going to help us identify people who might come into our facilities that might be, what we deem as risky people. Let's say they're not allowed to be here. It'll immediately alert us if they're here. It'll give real-time notifications to our administrators if a door is propped open. Right now in Texas, we've got a big campaign to stop the prop. We don't want to have any more doors propped open. We've seen what can happen when that's happening. So we're going to hopefully eliminate that, be able to see some other features like, hey, is one person granted access and someone's tailgating them? If so, we'll be able to see all of that. Again, our cameras are covering those doors, and being able to implement that with their access control is just going to make us one of the safest districts in the area.
Awesome. That's really exciting. That's a really cool upgrade that we have coming to our school district. Now, I would assume that you guys probably, when talking school safety, work in conjunction with some of our local law enforcement and different types of people here in the community. Could you talk a little bit about what that partnership looks like and how that works?
Yes, of course. So with our local law enforcement, we're meeting regularly. We are having meetings where they were discussing safety, school priority and plans on what to do in the events of lockdowns, secures, and all of our other school processes. They are also meeting regularly about the maps of the school. They have access to all the maps on if this were to happen, what is the next step. They are consistently planning for any event at any time.
Awesome. That's really cool. Now, I know you guys have lots of other roles in this department other than school safety. That's kind of what we're highlighting today. But just for people out there that maybe doesn't know exactly what all your department does, what are some of the different roles that you play other than school safety and security?
Yeah. IT is a broad umbrella that keeps getting wider and wider. So school security has definitely been a big part of what we've been doing lately. But, IT, traditionally, we run all the computers, all the Chromebooks. Every student in the district has a Chromebook that comes through our office. And I definitely have stacks of them that get repaired and in and out all the time. And networks, everyone just connected to the internet. I mean, phones, printers. Not everything that runs on electricity, but pretty close.
Almost,
but
yeah.
I mean, everything else is covered by our maintenance department, and they do a great job. But there's quite a things that fall under our umbrella. So if you think of almost everything that runs on electricity, we have some hand on in some way. So.
Awesome.
If we've kind of said in the past, like, if you're not calling us, that means that we have done our job, right?
Yeah.
So we've got a lot going on behind the scenes, monitoring our bandwidth, monitoring what's happening on our filtering, just making sure that everything behind the scenes is working. And, if it plugs in, like you said, it's almost under our umbrella.
Needless to say, you guys stay busy.
Yes.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, last question I have for you guys, and one thing we like to ask all of our guests. We all know Abernathy is a special place. We know the community is a special place. We know the school district is a special place. But I would just ask you guys, what is your favorite thing about being a part of this school district, and maybe what sets it apart from possibly other communities or other school districts?
Well, I'd like to say the people, for one, is what sets it apart. I think everybody here that's a part of just Abernathy as a whole, the teachers, the workers, the administrators, everybody, the amount of time and care that they put into this place I think it reflects upon Abernathy itself. I think this is what makes Abernathy home for me, and I believe it'll always be home just because of all the people here.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today and highlighting what you do. But also, I know it's a comfort to parents and people at home watching that have kiddos here every single day or loved ones here every single day on what the district is doing to keep them safe. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And welcome back to Outside the Box into our makeshift studio here. And again, just a really insightful conversation, Chance, I thought, with Victoria Clayton and Alan. And I know personally, having two kiddos in the school district, I know you do as well, just feel really, really good about sending my kids to a district where I know they're taking these big time measures to keep our students safe.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's one of those things that you kind of take for granted, honestly,
Absolutely.
Ty. I think it's one of those things that when you look up, all the things that happen, maybe not in our local community, but just around the country. Everyone says it can't happen until it happens. Mm-hmm. And something we kind of talked about, a crazy incident has happened in Abernathy before.
Yeah.
And it's been numerous years. It's been 20 years
yeah.
since that's happened. But that's why you have the things in place. So that way, if something does happen, you have the ability to lock the school down or shut things down. And the thing that I liked, one of the things out of the mini was how confident they were talking about strategies with the local law enforcement.
Yeah.
That was very interesting because you're just thinking, oh, y'all just watch cameras or monitor motion. But to understand
they've got a plan.
Yeah, that there's a plan in place and that, Victoria mentioned to us, she was like, when she put it together, she literally went and took a picture of every door that had a student in it. Or had the ability to have a student in it.
That students might pass through.
Yeah. And I was thinking that amount of dedication and that amount of detail is why that department and I praise Victoria, but she even mentioned it. She goes, yes, I may have the title as head, but she goes, we really are a team.
Mm-hmm. And it takes that.
Yeah, it really does. And to see, her office, the way it was set up, and then to see Clayton's area and the tons and tons of computers and them talking about the shuffling of computers in and out. And that's just, and they mentioned it in the thing. If it plugs in, we probably have
something to do with it.
We have something to do with it.
If it breaks, we fix it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so and again, the upgrades just shows the school district's commitment to spend lots of money to make sure that our facilities are secure and facilities are safe. And I know, Chance, if you talk to any teacher at any campus at the school, they would say at one point or another, Victoria, Clayton, Allen, this department has bailed them out.
Oh, yeah.
A computer's not working, a printer's not working, a Chromebook's not working, something's not connected, something's not whatever, and they are there in minutes and get it fixed for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right after our interview that we had with them, they walk in and they have one of those big old smart board things, and Alan's like, where's this going? And they have to take it to another one, and they're bringing another one back to get it situated, and it's like it's a never-ending thing for them. And that's another thing, the monitoring of it. You give kids computers, you give kids internet access. That is all being monitored to be a safe space for our kids to learn and to be able to get on to those Chromebooks and be able to do things that are for school and for school purposes. And if anything
and they
happens,
know what the kids are looking at.
Yeah, they do. And they can see everything. And that's something that is very encouraging to know that even a younger kid, if they accidentally clicked on something that they know it's not going to be able to access those certain types of things. And so that's awesome. That's one thing that we really don't think about when it comes to the safety side of things.
Yeah.
But that is a safety thing for our young kids for sure. So,
and they also do not get near enough credit for all the dumb questions we ask them about our broadcast equipment. And I know that there have been times on Friday nights at 9:00, I text Clayton and I'm like, Clayton, it doesn't work.
It's broken.
And I've tried everything that I know to try, and it's not working. And he at 9:00 gets on and looks at it and helps troubleshoot it and get it on the air. I told him that when we went to Sunray, I didn't even call him or text him because it was Sunray.
Yeah, it was kind of out of anyone's control at that point.
But I mean, they're just a super big help
for sure
in making it happen.
And the fact that, like you said, not only do they help us with all that, the equipment, all those things, but even after the interview, he said, "Hey, is there anything that we can do to help y'all's Wednesday night broadcast?
Yeah.
And that, just to know that we are doing that, to know that they're watching it and tuning in and being able to say, hey, if we can help you out in any way, just let us know. And that just meant the world to me, you know, and to you, I know as well. And so they're doing a multitude of things, and we can't give them enough credit for sure.
Okay, Chance, let's take one final timeout here on Outside the Box. We'll come back and wrap things up, look ahead to Farwell for a few minutes, and put the wraps on another episode of Outside the Box. So stick with us, and we will be right back.
First State Bank of Abernathy has been leading the Abernathy area banking industry since 1909 and is a staple in the community. We offer a full scale of banking services at First State Bank and are proud to be locally owned and operated. At First State Bank, we value the relationship with our customers and want to see them be successful in everything they do. If you have any questions, you can drop by and see us at 402 9th Street or give us a ring at 298-2556. Everyone at First State Bank is cheering on the Antelopes and Ladylopes this season.
Are you looking for a new ride? Look no further than the South Plains Auto Ranch in Abernathy. We offer in-house financing and offer a wide selection of used cars. If we don't have what you need, we will help you find it. When buying a vehicle, you want local people you can trust, and that's exactly what you'll find at the South Plains Auto Ranch in Abernathy. Located on the south end of town between the West Service Road and Avenue D, we are your used car one-stop shop. Give us a call today at 298-2200. And as always, we are a proud supporter of the Antelopes and Ladylopes.
First State Bank of Abernathy has been...
And for one final time, welcome back here outside the box, as we put our wraps on another episode. Lopes traveled to Farwell, 7 o'clock kickoff this Friday night. Abernathy trying to get that record back to 500 on the season. Farwell doing the same. You've got two very similar teams as far as the way their season has gone so far. Both teams are 1-2. You've got a Farwell team, and to be honest with you, Chance, I was thinking about this today. I don't ever remember playing Farwell, and so this is kind of a fresh matchup, a matchup that Antelope fans probably not super familiar with. But the Steers, they've got competitive losses to open the season to New Deal and to Texaco, New Mexico, and then they just flat put it on a traditionally pretty good team in Sundown this past Friday night to get their first win of the season. It's a team, too, that had some success a year ago.
Yeah, they did, and they play in a tough district tie. They play in a district with Stratford and Groover.
We know a little bit about Stratford.
Yeah, we wouldn't forget about Stratford. We played them. We did our time. We're done with Stratford. But so they're in a tough district. So even to go to the playoffs, that they have a tough schedule, and they're going to play a couple of teams that are perennial playoff contenders repeatedly throughout the season. And so they're used to those tough matchups. You know, last season they went to the area round. They finished 8-4. They're returning 7 guys on offense, and then return another 8 guys on defense. And so kind of I wouldn't say veteran team, but they have guys that have been out there and played on Friday nights, and that's very key. I think what you saw, you said kind of a similar season to us. They go out, kind of get punched in the mouth by New Deal, and then they try to figure things out a little bit against Texaco, and then they probably kind of hit their stride against Sundown. So I'm expecting it to be competitive for sure, but at the end of the day, I think it's a Farwell team that we should match up well against and be able to go out there and get the W.
Not that this matters at all, because no one knows. But I did notice that today the Dave Campbell's Texas Football, they do a spread for all the games. Abernathy's a 9-point favorite on the road against Farwell. So that's pretty competitive in high school football for sure. A name you're going to hear a lot for the Steers, we would expect, is their wide receiver, Ryder McElroy. And we say wide receiver. He caught 5 passes for about 70 yards. But, Chance, I had to, triple check this stat. He rushed it 3 times for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. And so I'm not sure if those were trick plays or what that was, but he was getting about 45 yards every time they handed the ball off to him.
For sure, and it's probably one of those offensive things to where he's coming around the backfield on a jet sweep or something like that where they're sending guys in motions.
The edge.
Yeah. And so that's probably something that our defensive staff and has kind of told her, hey, this kid, they're probably going to look at him to get the ball a lot. And he sounds like kind of a Rolando type for them. He's going to be one of those big play kind of guys. So if we can kind of shut him down and kind of make them one-dimensional, that would definitely be ideal for the Antelopes to get a win on Friday.
And really talking about Abernathy, and again, we'll go more into this during our pregame show on Friday night, so tune in at 6:45. And we'll be there in Farwell talking about it and previewing the matchup. But really, they just need to continue to grow. They need to continue to build off of some momentum. We've talked a lot about losing is contagious and winning is contagious. And so you got a little taste of winning in an exciting way this past week against Littlefield. Carry that momentum into Farwell. You've got guys like Jagger. He's still a sophomore, but continue to grow. Continue to step into that role as the starting quarterback for your football team. And Rolando, chance we know it. Get him the ball. He's your playmaker. But you don't want to overwork him. You've got to get creative. And I think so far the Antelopes have done a pretty good job of that.
They've definitely done a good job of that for sure, especially this past week. Not only creative on how to get Rolando the ball, but creative ways to use him as a diversion to get other guys open. Using motion, putting Rolando in motion, and kind of faking it out to him. But just making sure we don't get one-dimensional, and that's something that I really loved about last Friday is that we really look like a balanced offense, trying to spread it out over the air, but also sticking to that run. I think our game plan is going to run through Rolando, but also knowing that we can air it out and giving Wiley those opportunities. So continue to see some of that momentum and some of those things grow this coming Friday as well, and just keep the defensive momentum. Yeah. That's something that, like you said, we started off hot and then really tried to figure out, okay, they made adjustments. So going to this game, stay hot on defense. We need guys like Carver and Curry, Aaron Russum. Those guys have made some big plays this past week. Jake Harkey is another one as well, to continue to carry that momentum on the defensive side and really hold Farwell. It'd be nice to have a shutout, but definitely hold them a few points on the board so, our offense can go out there and do their thing.
Yeah, and, and Chance, I think we talked a lot the first couple of weeks, and maybe it was part of it early in that second half against Littlefield. Felt like the defense maybe just wore down a little bit, got a little bit gassed. But I think the more consistent you are on offense, you give your defense just a little bit more. Those first 2 weeks, they were on the field a ton.
They were.
But I also think you're kind of getting your legs under you conditioning-wise at this point in the season. You should be in good shape. Just the other day I was going by the football field during practice, and they were out there just running and conditioning and getting some of that in. And so they're working on that. And because when you're not very deep, you've got kids, too, that are playing both ways a lot. And that's a lot to ask for 16, 17-year-old.
Yeah, for sure. And, you're already not super deep at some positions as far as experience, but also then you had some injuries that hit you early on right now. So the benefit to that, though, is you're having some guys getting some playing opportunity and have time out there on the field. So that way, if their number does get called, they're ready to step up and make some of those plays when you need them to make plays. And so I'm excited. I know you're excited. Not as far of a trip to Farwell.
Thank the Lord.
And, hopefully their setup is a little better than what we had in Sunday.
I've kind of asked, and I think it is from what I've been told.
So excited about that. But if you're not able to make the drive out there to Farwell, you can definitely catch us, like you said, 6:45 on Friday night.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll also be back on the air next Wednesday. It is homecoming week in Abernathy, so we've got some exciting things planned for that show, Chance. Some homecoming festivities and different things we'll highlight here on the program next week as well.
For sure. And if you're in town tomorrow, go check out some junior high football and some JV football. I think they all play here. I'm not sure why, but I think they all play here tomorrow afternoon. So plenty of football to watch tomorrow night in Abernathy.
Yep, should be a fun one. So we will see you 6:45 on the air Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff. Antelopes at Farwell. Until then, we will say good night.
God bless.
And go Lopes.